Hey, welcome to Caching in the Northwest. You know, this is the podcast from the birthplace of geocaching right here in the great Pacific Northwest. Now, it's 9 p.m. Pacific, whatever Pacific time zone this could be, daylight or standard. And they call me Chris of the Northwest. And we're going to talk about geocaches and geocachers from here and all around the globe. So why you're stuck between the Halloween and the Christmas decorations at Costco will be caching in the Northwest.
Yes. Happy Labor Hollow Thankmas.
Oh, I like that one.
Something like that anyway. Yeah, well, hopefully you're not stuck between those now at Costco because it's 9 p.m. Thursday Pacific and Costco's here locally are closed. So unless you're maybe stocking the shelves, pushing a pallet jack around, and now they stock shelves right while you're shopping, don't they? Anyway, tonight we're talking about caching. That's caching in a hollow canyon, or maybe caching that you want to go back and visit again. And it's
No.
Oh, I misread. Tonight we're talking about eco-caching. No H to there at all. Well, except in the middle of caching, because otherwise it would just be like casing or something. C-acing. Anyway, are you protecting nature while you're out exploring in it? Pop your thoughts and comments in the chat and we'll discuss it. All about eco-caching. But of course, we can't do that yet. We have to bring in our tidy tamarin. Some say he makes trains take a dirt road. And others say he's creepier than a used car salesman. All we know is he's called Land Monkey.
Good evening, Mr. Muted Monkey.
He's never sounded better. The dulcet tones of Land Monkey may never be heard again.
I clicked unmute and then somebody muted me.
Not I.
Not I.
All right. Good evening.
Oh, wait, not echo caching. Never mind.
Yeah. We turned the reverb off.
Okay.
So we're not echoing more. All right. Hey, good to be here. Good to be here Thursday night, hanging out with my friends. I missed last week.
Oh, that's right. You weren't here.
We were on the road, and maybe in the hashtag after show FATAS, we'll.
I haven't mentioned it yet. They don't know what it is.
Oh, okay. Well, when Chris explains what that is, that's somewhere where maybe we'll talk about our road trip. We went down to the Bend Cache Machine with some friends and had an amazing time. It was. I've never been to Bend before, and it's a beautiful area.
It is nice.
I will be going back sometime, and there was more breweries than I had a chance to visit. So
What? Shocking.
Well, yeah, it happens. Anyhow,
I'll go back and help you sometime.
Okay, deal. A quick reminder at this point in the podcast, as we all kinds of interesting things and echo caching, that we appreciate the support of our patrons who help to keep this podcast coming each and every week. Thank you very much to each and every one of you in all the different ways you support. And you know what? I'm going to throw out something that we don't have in the script. I'm going off script, Chris.
Land Monkey, we've talked about this.
And I rarely listen. So
yes. I've talked about this.
So just to prove that I rarely listen when you talk, I'm going off script. No, what I wanted to say is that absolutely patrons are the heart of what keeps this podcast going. But, there's other ways that people can help that are really important. And that is subscribing to the podcast. If you don't, please consider doing that. Those metrics mean a lot. And if you're watching this on YouTube, giving it a like, adding comments after the podcast ends, or even during the podcast, because I know lots of great comments come up in the chat, but those don't necessarily get captured attached to the video of the podcast. So if there was something that was really interesting to you, or really funny to you, or really disappointing to you that comes up during the podcast, put the comments in there. It's really helpful. And it is a metric podcast. So yes, that's our Canadian content. And but yeah, so there's all that kind of stuff. So the likes, and if you're watching on Facebook, you like there as well. All that kind of stuff doesn't really cost you much, except a little bit of time that you're already investing in a podcast, and it makes a big difference for us. So
can you give it a poke?
Yeah.
Remember when that was a thing on Facebook? You could poke someone.
Oh, I forgot about that. I thought you meant like give it a poke and see if it's alive.
That could be as well.
Yeah, that's funny. But just wanted to throw that stuff out, but also a thanks, of course, to our corporate Denali level sponsors, and that would be Land Sharks, LENDSHARKZ, and and Cashly. That's wow, that just slipped my mind somehow. All right, so thank you very much to Land Sharks. If you want to get anything you've seen on geocaching.com or anything they're promoting in their sales, you can also buy it through official geocaching.com reseller, landkz.ca. And Cashly, of course, is the premier geocaching app for iOS. Version 8 with Cashly Pro features offline maps of the entire world so that you can navigate anywhere while offline. Just be careful when you're driving through the oceans. DeLorme and counties as well, so that you can finish those county challenges. We worked on that this weekend as well. So thank you, Cashly, for all of that. And wow, coming soon. We keep teasing it, but CarPlay support. Find Cashly in the iOS App Store or go to. If you want to know more about supporting this podcast in any of the various ways we described, well, you know what? Why don't you click on that Patreon link on the cachingnw.com website?
Well done.
Well, you wanted it creepier than a used car salesman, so that was my
Nailed it.
Thank you.
Hey,
I'm going to take the rest of the podcast off now. So
okay, go ahead. Thank you. Go ahead. Sit back, enjoy your beverage. I'm assuming it's an adult beverage.
Actually, tonight it's not. It's hot chocolate with a little bit of coffee.
Oh, look at you being sensible.
Yeah, well, rarely, but
Sugar and caffeine after 9 p.m. may not be the most sensible, but
it's decaf. It's decaf.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted the coffee.
There you go. Hey, speaking of things that you want to do in the evening, let's glow, right? It's getting darker. We need a little more light. So it's time for the glow. And some may ask, like SB Dave, what is a glow? SB Dave, I really like that. You asked that before the podcast started.
I was going to say, note the timestamp on that. We haven't even started yet.
You suddenly became my favorite listener.
Wow. All right. The competition's on, everybody. Chris is picking favorites from you now.
Oh, and I'm very fickle. I'll let you know that right now. I could have another favorite just like that.
Well, M. DeFio is my favorite. They're recognizing my self-care.
That's right.
SB Dave is proud. There you go.
Well, you should be. It's time for the glow. That's the geocaching log of the week. Now, whether you read it or whether you wrote it, we want to hear about it because great logs simply make geocaching better. You can send an email, which everyone does, right? That's good. It's better to send a recording. You can email that to feedback@cachingnw.com. The best thing you can do is to call into 25369. Wow, that didn't sound right coming out. 253-693-TFTC. And show
you make
us
it very hard to mock you when you stop partway through.
Yeah. I had to self-review and I'm like, the numbers are right, but I just didn't have the right cadence to them. So it didn't sound right to myself. And I shouldn't listen to what I say. I should just speak and move on. And that's, how things work.
We don't listen to what you say.
Thank you. Dude, sometimes your words hurt. Okay. So the cache we're talking about tonight is one that I really wanted to do.
Wanted past tense? You don't want to now?
Well, I still do.
Okay.
The travel is a bit more difficult. Well, no, the travel is a bit long to get there. I was in the area, but the timing wasn't right.
Sometimes timing
that has to do with
I know what you're talking about now.
You, Land Monkey, the light came on. So this glow is a little different because I wanted to read the cache description, a bit of the cache description ahead of time, just so you understand what the log is. So, Wits End?
Yes, sir.
Take it away.
Aye, Captain. This is a borderline caching disorder, not to be confused with cache derangement syndrome. That's an entirely different cache. Borderline caching disorder, that's GC9 Papa 4 Papa 9. Couple of papas and some numbers in there.
I like the ring to that one.
Yeah, it's almost like 253693 TFTC, but not.
Oh.
Let's see. As you requested, first we will start with the cache description.
Thank you.
Stretching 12 and a half miles across Boundary Bay from Point Roberts to Blaine, there are a series of range towers protruding out of the bay, which delineates the international border between the USA and Canada. These towers are all topped with reflectors and lights, and their designated letter identifier is emblazoned on a sign atop the towers. Including the 2 range markers on the west side of Point Roberts between the West Beach and the Swanson Ferry Terminal, there are a total of 7 range markers designated A through G, or Alpha through Golf if you prefer. Tower C is located at the end of Roosevelt Way in Maple Beach, which is a public swimming beach where people can swim in international waters so long as they return to the same side of the beach that they left from. Okay? No practicing for that Cuba to Florida swim there. This virtual cache is located at Range Tower D Delta, which is found 7/10 of a mile east of Tower C. The tower can be reached on foot when the tide is low, which I think is what Chris is referring to timing, via an easy walk along the intertidal pools and sandbars. Did the sandbars close at 2 a.m.? That's different.
More than likely, yes.
Okay. So now the log. This was submitted by Trexer. Thanks, Trexer. And the log says it was found by Bruce Lee. The log says, well, this was quite the adventure. Nick Kitty 123 and I came up for the weekend from Vancouver, Washington to attend an event and decided that it would be fun to do this virtual cache due to the interesting DT rating, difficulty terrain rating. We looked up the tide tables and made a plan to walk out exactly at the lowest tide. We got about 2/3 of the way there and it got too deep, so we had to turn back. There was a paddleboard rental place right by where we parked, but they were closed and didn't answer their phones. I saw a gentleman sitting out on his porch nearby and went to ask him if he knew a place where we could rent one, and he instead offered to let us borrow one of his. We graciously accepted his kind offer and headed out a second time. With 2 bodies and a phone that needed to stay dry aboard, it was nothing less than a challenge to keep our balance using anything less than 100% of our available brain power. Needless to say, we made it, and boy, were we tired when we got our feet back on the ground. Thank you for the fun memories and the virtual cache, and thank you to the kind souls who allow us to complete our goals when the situation doesn't work quite in our favor.
That's awesome.
There you go. Brylang says the tower can be reached on foot, but you'll be waist deep in the ocean at the lowest tide of the year to get the answers for this virtual cache.
And isn't it awesome how kind people in the Northwest are?
Yes,
letting strangers
really
borrow their watercraft to complete a virtual.
I mean, and you think about it, they loaned their what did they loan? Paddleboard?
Paddleboard, I thought. Yeah.
And that could have been taken out of the country.
Technically, it probably was.
Theoretically, yes.
They probably at one point went beyond the international line and came back and
made numerous border crossings.
They had their nexus on them.
So, yeah, people are kind, I think, for the most part.
Yeah, they are. And I that's one of the things that stands out for me in this log is just the fact that there's somebody who is just sitting there and is like, yeah, go ahead. So I thought that's pretty cool. I like that.
He was probably filming for YouTube too.
Probably, yeah. Just waiting. Oh,
yeah.
These people are definitely
be funny.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, what a great adventure. And it is a cool virtual cache for sure. If you're putting this on your radar and you don't want to wade and swim to it like Brylang says you potentially can, it's best just bring your kayak and plan to put it in and paddle out for it. That's how we go. It's yeah, Mrs. Monkey and I have the FTF on that one, and it was a fun and memorable adventure. There you go.
Kitty Quest says it's a lovely walk in the summer when the air and water temps are just right. Good wildlife viewing in the water.
There is, yeah. You can spot, if you're lucky, some starfish and little fishies and all kinds of stuff.
Aren't there
lots of herons around there?
Lots of crustaceans on the tower itself?
Yeah, for sure. On the concrete blocks. That's what I was saying. Like,
are crustaceans are the right word?
Oh, well, there'd be crabs. Those would be crustaceans.
Yeah.
Brylang saw jellyfish. He saw jellyfish with crabs.
Mm.
I don't know what those jellyfish have been.
No, and it's amazing he can make that medical observation.
Yeah,
just by looking at the jellyfish.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they were probably swimming funny.
That's right.
All right. Keith saw SpongeBob. There you go.
Oh, and Heather's watching from Wisconsin tonight. Well, that's something.
that is something. That's a heck of a drive, and
That's
it's late
Northwest from
for her.
somewhere.
Thank you for staying up to watch.
Yes, thank you.
Everybody who isn't in the Pacific time zone,
That's
thank
right.
you.
So tonight, if you want to join in the chat, why don't you use the hashtag ECO, ECO, right? No H.
Jim.
It's
I don't know
funny.
what you mean.
I typed that several times. I never even thought of the word echo.
That's why you have co-hosts.
And now it's stuck in my head. So
You asked us to read more than was in the show notes.
You did say that. You're right, Jim.
So
yes. Thank you for adding extra letters. I was thinking extra words, but letters,
how do you have words
You-
without letters?
I don't know. I haven't figured that part out yet, but I'm getting there. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, I see.
We're doing
Hey,
really good job of
okay.
adding extra letters.
Okay, let's use some other letters. We can use the hashtag FTAS. That's FTAS. That's for the after show, which Land Monkey spoiled in case it was a surprise to you. And if this is your first time watching the show, welcome. We appreciate you. We hope you enjoy the show.
And we're sorry.
And we're sorry ahead of time. So there you go. ECO for the topic tonight. FTAS for anything you want to talk about. Maybe it's an event you're going to. There's some possible events this weekend to earn your world postcard souvenir. And of course, leave your feedback and like and subscribe.
Please
do.
But it's time to earn some souvenirs. And there are a lot of souvenirs available right now, it seems.
There are.
So-
You know what? That's a good point. Like I think 2 or 3 episodes ago, Chris, we did a rundown on all the souvenirs coming up.
Yes.
And it was surprising. And then I'm watching the news feed from geocaching.com, and then another one comes out. I'm like, oh my goodness, you guys. They're souveniring us. We're getting
Ooh.
clubbed over the head with souvenirs.
That's right. Well, it's a summer. You go on a trip, you bring back a souvenir.
Right.
So, it's summer's over. Now's the time to collect all your souvenirs and figure out what's going on. But
And dust
one
your
of the
digital shelf.
that's right. One of the things you can collect is the National or International Earth Cache Day 2024 souvenir. That's coming up October 11th, which is almost right around the corner, through Sunday, October 13th. You've got it. If I count that right, 11th, 12th, 13th, you got 3 days there.
Get on it.
I know. So Friday to,
That's interesting. They've expanded it because it used to be 2 days. It used to be Saturday, Sunday. This is
Yeah.
the first year. I believe this is the first year that it includes Friday, which is
Friday.
fantastico.
Well, and if you read, you have from 11 o'clock UTC on Friday, October 11th until 10 o'clock UTC on Monday, October 14th. That's 4 days.
Since we all run our clocks on UTC,
It's
I
right.
get it. They're an international organization that
Yeah.
they need to set something,
Yeah.
and it makes sense.
You got to pick a standard somewhere. Why not use the one, the rest of the world is using too?
Right? Yeah, that's good. It's just so I always find it funny, living in the Northwest, and their HQ's in the same time zone we are, but
Yeah.
there's cachers around the world, so of course they need to think about that.
Well-
It always just lands on me funny.
Yeah, and if you're curious, it's currently 4:22 a.m. tomorrow, the 4th.
Oh, it
UTC.
is tomorrow. Okay.
There you go. Fun.
There you go. I remember HQ used to share things in Pacific time zone.
Oh, did they?
You have from this time to this time Pacific time zone to do it.
And everybody else just go figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if you do UTC, most people I think that are into geocaching know what their UTC offset is.
Minus
So-
8.
Minus 8 for us, right? Yeah. But anyway, let that go. Okay. So,
No. I want to keep talking about UTC.
so you've got Earth caches all weekend long. Make it a long weekend of Earth caching.
Indeed, yes. And if you live somewhere where it is a long weekend, like the 49th parallel, it's awesome. But we would have the Monday off, but that's still cool.
As long
I
as you have until 10 o'clock UTC on Monday.
Well, that's true. That's true.
like what,
So
2 a.m.?
it's a nice long period of time to go get your Earth caches. I think that's awesome that they've done that. It makes it a lot easier.
And then if that isn't enough souvenir for you, Adventure Day is coming up.
Oh, do tell.
Oh, yes. Adventure Day. You can earn a souvenir for doing just a single Adventure Lab location from October 18th to Sunday, October 20th.
Now, I am very curious, all wonderful listeners in the chat room, what your thoughts are about that, about getting a digital souvenir in your
For a digital
geocaching.com.
find.
Sorry?
For a digital find.
Well, yeah, like getting a digital souvenir in your geocaching.com profile for finding one Adventure Lab location. What are your thoughts about that? I will reserve my own opinions, although you can probably read.
I think it's interesting simply because, we are in an area with a lot of geocaches and a lot of adventure labs.
A lot of Adventure Labs.
That may not be true for everyone. So, having just setting the bar low enough to say it's a single location may be a challenge for some people, right? So who knows?
Maybe.
Maybe they don't even have an earth cache nearby.
Oh, that would be.
Those poor people.
Don't be a wet blanket. I'm not being a wet blanket. I said I want to hear what everybody's opinions are.
Bryling wants all the souvenirs.
Well, yeah, most people do.
And Keith says it's super easy.
It definitely is.
Yes.
For
Everything is
anybody in the
super.
Northwest.
And you know what? There's another souvenir coming up. It's fall Ceto season. Right now, as we speak, you have until November 30th.
Awesome. So get out there and help clean up the game board. Do your
Yep.
part. Boy, has there ever been a rash of
Souvenir-a-palooza.
Ceto- Sorry?
Souvenir-a-palooza.
Souvenir Palooza, indeed. Has there ever been a rash of Cetos in the last year and a half? I think it's picked up in popularity and fantastic. I mean, it's always been a thing, and it's been 2 or 3, 4 maybe a year, and now it's like they're coming out constantly. So you can pick and choose. Go help either do like an invasive species removal, go do a planting, go just walk a park or a neighborhood and clean up. It's fantastic. I really think that the current new enthusiasm around Cetos is great. And I get it. There's different motivations why different people are doing it, but the net end result is still a positive for your community. So awesome.
And if the souvenir itself is a motivation for some to go out and do it, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Yep. I hear you.
So all these souvenirs got me thinking we should be talking about the need for being responsible while we're out geocaching to protect the natural habitats that we wander about in.
Okay.
Yes, indeedy.
So
We should discuss that.
there you go. CRS 98 says throw a Ceto.
Yeah, you can host one.
Mhm.
That'd be good.
Indeed.
If nobody hosted one, nobody could attend one, right?
That sounds heavy.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah, don't hurt yourself now.
Yeah, don't put your back out.
All right. Well, you could sit in your seat in the airplane in Montreal and log a whole mess of adventure labs with multiple choice questions and big geofences like some unnamed cacher may or may not have done. But
Luckily, his name and picture are not on the screen at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and that's a great way to be eco caching and contributing to the carbon count in the world.
there you go. I was going to say, other than that activity, whatever you do for geocaching or adventure labbing, you're going to have some environmental impact on some level, right? Maybe
Yeah.
positive, maybe negative, but some impact. How can we raise awareness about conservation efforts and the importance of, leaving that game board clean, leaving no trace, as the old saying says, that so that the next cacher or adventure labber, is that even a term now, can enjoy the site as clean as or cleaner than you found it.
Yeah, so that's a great question there, Jim. What exactly is eco caching? Essentially, I think
I've
what we're
corrected
getting
him.
at is it's geocaching with, as you say, an emphasis on environmental consciousness. The idea being to find or hide geocaches in a way that minimizes the impact on the environment. And I think the hiding piece is really important. And I look forward to talking because I have some thoughts on.
Well, and that is, we're going to talk about being responsible stewards of the land. Whether we're geocachers or not, I think we need to be responsible stewards of the land. So that means using environmentally friendly materials, participating in cleanup efforts like CETOs that we talked about, being mindful of wildlife and natural habitats. And it's a way to enjoy our hobby. So we're giving back to the environment, trying to or strike a balance between adventure and conservation.
It's
Indeed.
getting out there beyond the we're not in no, it's different.
We're
Well,
beyond the environment, right?
that's right, beyond the environment. And it's I think everybody first jumps to when you talk about the environment and being eco-friendly and everything, everybody thinks about the negative impacts. But
Mhm.
there's a positive side of this too, is it actually gets people out there enjoying the wilderness and the outdoors and the environment. So and how can you get out there and enjoy it? But keep it clean for the next guy
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
gal.
For sure. And that's, I mean, that's the whole leave no trace
Yeah.
and those related principles.
Right. If it's not weasel stomping day,
No, it's
you
not.
know,
Unfortunately,
okay,
that's only
then
one day a year.
yeah. So
Um,
leave no trace.
get
Leave
your
no
sauerkraut.
weasel trace. Oh wait.
But yeah, it is about minimizing your footprint, and obviously physical footprint. And we should talk about the whole that whole idea as well. And I think Chris, you're going to talk about cache containers, but we should also be considering how things are hidden, right?
Yes.
It's in the Northwest. It's very, very popular to hide caches in stumps,
Mhm.
nursing stumps, etc., because they're gigantic
Everywhere.
and they're everywhere in the Northwest. And yeah, great, hide a cache. But the challenge becomes, and this is a little bit of a soapbox, not too much, but when you hide a micro in
Cedar?
sorry.
In a cedar?
Well, yeah. Well, just like, if you're going to hang a micro in a cedar, fine, fill your boots, whatever. But if you're going to go to a big old nursing stump and you're going to somewhere in there stick a micro, you're going to end up with people tromping all around, on, in, tearing it apart.
Mhm.
By hiding caches in that manner, you're not being eco-friendly. You're not being responsible to the environment, because you're creating a situation where you're just asking for people
Mhm.
to pull it apart. So I am against micros in nursing stumps. I will say that, and then I will leave that where it is.
Well, this is a topic I wanted to talk about. So CRS 98 says, please stop hiding difficult to find caches off trail. Just stop. One of the things I thought about were social trails, right? So animal trails. When you're hiking along on a trail, you'll see a little trail off to the side, and it's pretty narrow, but it's there and it's a clear trail.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the animals have created that in their path. If
Yep.
you put a geocache at the end of that, have you created a barrier for the animals to continue to use that trail? Does the human scent on that trail then scare away the animals from using it in the future?
What if the animals are geocachers?
Oh, well, in that case, no. But, I thought about that. I go, if humans start using these social trails or game trails, does that prevent the game, the animals from using them again in the future? So
That's interesting. I've never thought about it from that perspective, Chris.
I just thought about it, writing this up, and I'm like, I don't know that.
Yeah, I guess we also have to be careful of the slippery slope argument, right? Like, you get to a
Mhm.
point of like, well, then you shouldn't hide any geocaches in the woods anywhere, because
Well,
like
oh,
you could
right,
you could
right.
go down that road,
Mhm.
and I would suggest we don't need to. I don't know if hiding a cache on a game trail is necessarily a bad thing. I mean, the people are going to follow deer trails for
Mhm.
reasons other than geocaching. People are just out exploring the park because, like, oh, what an interesting little side trail. Let's see
Yeah.
where that goes. Like, I don't think you're going to. I don't. I think it's a valid thing to consider. I don't think it's necessarily problematic, but I don't know. I could be informed otherwise.
And I have no problem using established trails that have been put there. Yes, it does change the forest environment a bit, but it allows for human enjoyment along those trails. I have no problem with that. And if they need to be maintained, either by boardwalk or some material down there, be it wood chips or the little rubber, uh, I don't know what they call those.
Floor mats.
Yeah, basically. But the ground up rubber to put
Yeah.
on there to get, help with drainage and traction. Anyway, I'm all for that. I think that is wonderful, gets you out there, gets to nature. So, but one thing I want to talk about is so Land Monkey, you brought up the hard to find, as did CRS 98, the hard to find cache that's going to cause you to trample and, dig around and disturb nature. Somebody said, yep, there's that. Here, Fear the Tubas said, agreed. It's very discouraging to see rocks overturned, moss ripped off, and bark destroyed. Right? You go through the area and you go, well, it could be a fake rock. Let me turn all the rocks over so that I can see.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing putting a fake rock in a pile of rocks in like a drainage area in an industrial area, right?
Or in a roundabout in the middle, of traffic.
Yeah. Which also I don't think is going to get published, but go for it.
Did.
Really?
Yes. I spent a couple of days while my son was doing sports practice, that I went back to this roundabout nearby and just, started you'd take a rock and I'd hit other rocks because it's a fake rock that, obviously sounds different. Okay. And now I've learned to spot them better. But at the time I was like, oh, this is annoying.
Yeah.
That's why they make ignore lists.
Oh yeah.
Funny.
So this is interesting by Breiling. Don't use moss to hide a cache. Moss is delicate and can be killed just by moving it.
Yeah, and if you did that, you'd be a moss murderer.
That's right. I hadn't considered that. Back to our game trail. Caching Cant says, it's one thing to hide a cache 25 feet down a game trail. It's another to hide it 400 feet down a game trail.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But in these hard to find caches, you end up walking in large circles trying to find what you're looking for. And what you're doing is you're stomping down all the vegetation in that circle as you widen your search to find it. So if you're out in the woods, do a large hide. I mean, you've got the space to do it.
Yeah.
So bark is fine to use, apparently not moss.
There you go. Yeah. Now, and this prompts another thought, another question. Having recently done a lot of caching in, as we were saying earlier,
in the Northwest.
In the Northwest. So we were just out in Bend, Oregon, and earlier in the year we were in the high desert area doing a bunch of caching south of Spokane, and a lot of caches in that area are hidden a little bit off the road, off a dirt road or whatever, and like tucked into the sagebrush. And to get to it, you got to kind of walk across what really just sort of feels like dirt and sand to go grab the ammo, plastic, whatever it is behind a sagebrush. And so now, are you creating a trail and harming the environment by walking through that area? I don't know.
I have no problem stepping all over sagebrush. Crushing.
Okay.
No problem whatsoever.
It's definitely not as delicate as moss.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. All right.
No,
well, fair enough. I just the thought occurred to me as you were talking, because obviously the three of us are, well, maybe Jim isn't as much anymore, but more familiar with those green wet forests. Jim's now fresh.
I'm a sagebrush cacher now. I haven't found a moldy logbook in a long time.
I bet. Yeah, just the dry, crusty ones.
Yeah,
I'll mail you one.
Okay.
And watch out for those scorpions under the rocks, Jim.
Well, there's that.
We don't have to worry about that here.
No, Chris and I don't.
Everybody's got their own challenges.
Yeah, exactly. But anytime you're making your own trail through an environment, you're probably not doing the right thing.
Right. I guess that's what I was getting at, right? Because then you can sort of see where most people have gone, even though it's just like pounded down dirt. But I don't know. I'm not familiar enough with the delicacies of the delicateness of the different biomes.
Well, as we talk about the biome some more, let's talk about cache containers.
Let's.
I've seen recycled plastic, biodegradable options. I thought that was interesting. But it's amazing how creative people can get while they're being, eco-friendly.
Right. Yeah, you could even use some natural materials,
Mhm.
perhaps, that naturally occurring titanium or no. Um,
Go
Steel,
mine some iron ore.
yeah, mine the stuff out of there and
naturally occurring Tupperware.
sure,
You
yeah.
you find that Tupperware tree, you just pick some of the smaller ones.
Well, and they're going to be harder and harder to find because they're not making those trees anymore.
That's right.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Look
I-
for the ones with the tomato sauce stained into the Tupperware.
Use that.
Yeah. But no, you could use some material that's already out there. Maybe there's an abundance of dead logs. You can take one of those logs and hollow it
Mhm.
out and use that to hide it. It'll blend right in because, well, it came from there. It belongs there.
yeah.
And we mentioned Tupperware. You can reuse old Tupperware. You got that stuff with the spaghetti stained
Mhm.
plastic? Maybe don't use that. Uh,
Why didn't they
You
make
all
one?
let's look at this. If you already got in trouble because you put the spaghetti sauce stain in the Tupperware, well, you may as well. You're not going to get in much more trouble by using that container now as a geocache. Like
Why didn't they make Tupperware spaghetti sauce colored to begin with?
now, that would be thinking.
there you go.
But let's talk about this for a minute. Can
Sure.
we really use biodegradable containers?
Hmm.
Wits End, I'm sorry, we're going to leave you out for a moment. We're going to talk about the wet environment in the Northwest. But I'm sure the heat in the on the eastern part of the state,
Yeah.
will also ramp up the degradation of these containers.
With the
So
hot cold, right? Like 'cause
right.
you get the heat in the summer and then you get the cold in the winter, and
Yeah.
they're all cracked up.
Well, I mean, even good Tupperware plastic has a hard time in eastern Washington's heat.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that I read about was, well, use biodegradable. Well, I don't think so.
Isn't anything biodegradable if you wait long enough?
In theory, yes, but a lot of people aren't willing to wait that long.
Yeah.
There you go. And as an answer from the guidelines for you there, Chris, the ideal container is waterproof, biodegradable, generally speaking, waterproof.
So,
There's
I mean, you want something that's going to be out there and it's going to last for a while,
Yeah.
right? And you don't want it to, well, degrade or to start to, fade away to nothingness, especially if you're sticking it in a guardrail, which isn't naturally occurring to begin with.
There is
naturally
that.
occurring guardrails. Yes. From the guardrail farm. Yes. Well, and definitely, yeah. So I guess we talked a little bit about the biodegradable containers. A nice thought, but not practical and not recommended. So there you go. And I don't think it would matter really what environment you're in. Biodegradable containers probably aren't a great idea because definitely anywhere in the Pacific Northwest, whether you're in the high desert or the rainforests, those containers are going to be lucky to make it a year.
Yeah. The rainforest.
The tropical rainforest, yes. Except for the temperate rainforest. But what do we got here?
Hibas says, I found an old May 2001 cache today. Unfortunately, the container was broken in many pieces and its contents strewn around.
Oh,
Eventually, I found the log in its baggie, gathered up the pieces, and rehid.
that's always disappointing when you
Yeah.
find what should be a great cache and the container just hasn't held up and hasn't been maintained. Because that's the other thing, right? Like I think as you were saying earlier, Chris, any plastic container is eventually going to succumb to the elements. And therein is the importance of performing maintenance on your cache. Because we can't all hide steel ammo cans all the time.
That's right. And Kate says, just say no to that cardboard geocache.
Okay, so let's spin off that for a minute because
I wonder how that would work in Eastern Washington.
right. It
I mean,
actually
they
might
do get
work
rain,
okay in
but-
Eastern Washington.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I have learned, the cute little birdhouses that you can buy at the dollar store or other places made out of like that thin plywood-like layered
Press board.
pressboard material. They're super cute, and people will paint them up and they'll hide them. And I've done it myself, and within a year, it's garbage.
It's the equivalent of a wooden sponge.
It sucks the
Yeah.
water in, it expands, it falls apart because it's made with glue, everything, it just falls apart. But I'll share a pro tip from Land Monkey here coming up.
Hold on. Okay, I'm ready.
I have used those containers successfully as geocaches. What I do is I get the little birdhouse, and then all of the seams. So anywhere where there's like an edge
Mhm.
or a joint, I put I smear Gorilla Glue on all of those, and it basically seals that up. And then I will paint it with primer, and then 2 coats of, like, usually like a green, or to make it fit into camouflage type thing, but 2 coats of paint over top of a primer. And with that, those little birdhouses will last years.
Mhm.
But it takes a
Cool.
little bit of effort.
Right.
But
You
then
gotta gotta glue the gorillas to the seals.
there you go.
Anyone else see the irony in the monkey using Gorilla Glue? Says Bryline.
I don't think that's necessarily irony.
Waterproof sprays. Keats94 asks, do they work?
Haven't tried it. Encourage somebody to give it a whirl and let us know.
I would suggest take the time and make your house out of cedar or walnut, a good quality wood to begin with.
Teak.
Or let me say a naturally occurring wood rather than whatever this, sawdust holding hands together is.
That's about all it is. Yeah.
Indeed.
But that's a good point. Start with a good quality container that's going to hold up. You could probably do those cute little birdhouses if you could put them in a larger container as well, right? To
I
keep the
have
weather
seen
off
that
of them.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a fantastic cache. I want to say it's on Point Roberts, where it's a large plastic container, and inside, when you open it up, they've got the cute little birdhouse and everything in a little, almost like a diorama setup. Super cute, really fun to find, and it's going to last a lot longer. So
Mhm.
that is a really good suggestion, Chris.
Mhm.
If you
And
want to
that keeps all that litter out of the environment, right?
yeah, as Heather was saying earlier, right? When you
Mhm.
go to find what should be a great geocache, and what you end up doing is gathering the rubbish and
Yeah.
signing the log. But you know what? Gathering the rubbish is a good segue to CETOs, which we talked about a little bit earlier in
Indeed.
the podcast. But this idea where geocachers come together, clean up parks and other natural areas, search for some geocaches while you're doing it. But all kinds of different types. So it doesn't have to be a cleanup. All kinds of different types of CETOs that go on. Definitely those who are geocachers in British Columbia and subscribe to the BCGA newsletter. I'm sure the WSGA newsletter does the same thing. Highlights a lot of the successful CETO events that go on in the
Mhm.
Northwest, and definitely, you can find advice for organizing your own. And here's a thought: next time you go geocaching, bring along a couple of garbage bags included with your geocaching kit.
I love
You may
that.
not get a CETO souvenir, but you'll do a good thing. Yeah, I got to point out one of our geocaching friends, GeoNav Pro.
Mhm.
He is very good at CETOing when he goes caching. I know that's something that is stuck in my mind, of someone who often is thinking about, how can I contribute? How can I reduce my footprint when I go out
Mhm.
geocaching? So good for him.
It's something I often think about, but I usually don't have the bag with me. And
Yeah.
you're walking, you go, oh man, I wish I could pick that up and, I don't want to touch it and carry it with me for the next hour as I hike, but I would like to take it out of here. But
He appreciates the shout out.
There you
Yeah,
go.
that's his thing.
Well deserved.
Yeah. And yeah, like you say, CETO is a philosophy, not just an event and a souvenir, right?
Mhm. You're right. Oh, it's more than just a souvenir?
Yeah. It's
It
more.
can be.
No,
More.
I thought we were talking all about souvenirs tonight.
Among other things, yes.
Mhm.
One of those other things could be, well, seasonal awareness.
Mm.
It's important to take note. The seasons change. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Hmm.
And different types of wildlife, well, they do different things in different seasons. Bears hibernate in caves, and
That's right.
bats, seek shelter in caves during autumn,
Yep.
winter stuff. So use your head, go be prepared, bring that trash can, know what season you're out there and what the, local residents of the wilderness area that you might be invading or caching in are doing there. So it's important.
Well, and you bring up a good idea that, if you're in the spring, be careful of when you go trampling through the fields with all the, the fragile new growth coming up.
Yeah.
In the fall, leaves can cover the cache. You might have to dig a little more. Well, don't dig too deep and too hard to really, churn things up. And in the winter, the cache may be covered by snow and ice
Or frozen shut. Yeah.
or frozen in place. Right. So, one thing I have to learn, it's okay to DNF. I don't like it.
Yeah, it's no fun, but
Yeah.
You know,
I agree.
if
I
you
have
search,
plenty of
oh, go
DNFs.
ahead.
No, just saying that please continue. But I was just saying I very much I agree. It feels when you first start doing it, it's like, oh, I'm admitting failure. I'm publicly shaming myself. You're not. And there's a lot of reasons why it's good. But please continue.
Well, when you've searched all the obvious places, and I start out in that, spiral search pattern, right? Slowly expanding out. Um, you know, that's not necessarily good for the environment. We've already touched on that, right? That way you're trampling down a larger circle than you normally would. But yeah, don't keep searching, turning over every stone and log and rolling that log completely out of the way, going, well, I don't think they hid it under here, but let me move this big log just to find out.
That's where all the wood bugs are and
Yeah.
earwigs.
Yeah. And they don't necessarily like sunshine. That's
There you
right. CRS 98 threw a community celebration event to celebrate his 1000th DNF.
That's awesome. I love it.
That's
What a
great.
great idea.
GeoNav Pro shares a great tip. Since he's always ready, an old shopping bag rolled up is always in my caching bag, and gloves. But that's a different episode.
What's in my caching bag?
Maybe we should do a GeoNav Pro. What's in your caching bag?
There you go. Hey, one thing though on that, and something that I've found a few times that it's kind of a neat idea. I have seen trackables. So you have a trackable tag,
Mhm.
and it's attached to a small container of some sort, whether it's a large or a pill bottle or something like that. And in that container is shopping bags stuffed in there, and it's called a CETO trackable. And so it goes from cache to cache, and then
Love it.
you can take the bag out and pick up some garbage or whatever, and then put a different bag in and move the trackable along. Just kind of a fun way to do that. I've seen that a couple times done. I think that's really neat. It's a good idea. Caching Cats says they've sent out 2 like that.
Nice.
Dog poo bag dispensers. There you go. That's a good option. I struggle with that because here in Western Washington, they have outlawed plastic bags.
Well, not only that, but I mean, here's the thing. Walk down any trail in what the Pacific Northwest, and what do people do with the plastic dog poo bags after that?
Drop them on the trail.
Or throw them into the bushes where you need to go find the geocache. It's like, no, like if you're gonna do that, then just kick the poo off the trail. Like you haven't done anything except make the poo last longer and be hung in a weird place.
I don't want the poo on the trail. I don't mind the poo off the trail.
Yeah,
it's natural. The animals are doing it anyway, right? But
another soapbox for me.
I know. I can be all over on this one. Just like the poo. But picking it up in a plastic bag and then setting that plastic bag on the trail because you don't want to carry it because it's disgusting.
Now, once in a while, I believe people are doing that because they're doing an out and back, and it's I'm going to set this here and I will pick it up on my way back. And that very well could be the case a number of times, but not always.
Right. Thank you. That puts a positive spin on it, and I feel better with that.
You just happen to be passing while they're ahead of you on the trail. So
yeah, let's say that.
But yeah, so eco caching, lots of different. So I think the obvious thing when we started talking about eco caching was CETOs. But Chris, you've brought up a lot of really great points for us to discuss this topic, and lots of great feedback from the live audience as well.
One thing I forgot to mention is, when you go tear up the ground zero looking for the cache, you could be tearing up possible nesting sites for smaller animals. So just be careful.
Well,
rolling over that log may not seem like a big deal, but it could be for that environment. Poor little bunnies inside or something.
Bunnies rolling around. What a great visual.
Rolling down the hill. So that was our thoughts on eco caching.
Yeah,
and folks,
let's just end on that thought.
on the bunny rolling down the hill
inside a log.
Yeah. I think I've seen that in cartoons.
I'm
Folks,
sure you have.
thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Caching in the Northwest.
Indeed. And Jim, did you want to take a turn?
No, I fill in when you're not here, so
Okay, I
I'm
saw
just
your
the
initials.
stunt double.
It's hardly distinguishable, for sure. And I appreciate you stunt doubling. It saved me many an injury. All right. I want to take a moment to thank our corporate and sponsors. That would be Landsharks and Cachely. Landsharks.ca is the outdoor adventure and geocaching store. Check them out online. And remember, they're shipping those online or daily. And Cachely, well, Cachely is the geocaching app for iOS. Go check it out at cachely.com and download it off the iTunes store for you. We want to thank all of our faithful Denali level sponsors, of course, Landsharks and Cachely, but also Cool Cow Cachers and Hawaiian Maile. Folks, if you want to know more about supporting this show, remember to click that Patreon link
Eons
in
ago.
or on, in and on the cachingnw.com website.
Like Antaeus did.
And just finding our way.
And Peach of nearly everywhere.
That's right.
And probably out enjoying nature, GeoBirder.
How about M-Nerve?
J-Car.
Just Carlo.
Boomer 365.
Terrible tease.
Terrible lunch. Gas station tuna.
Nice segue. I love that. Cleaning up as he goes, it's GeoNav Pro.
Limax.
UDEC.
Kid Vegas 19.
Flagman.
Subway Mark.
Skyhawker.
Wet Coaster.
HackerDoc.
Seaback Tribe.
GSM times 2.
You talks to rocks.
BC Rock Crawler.
Team Noltex.
Nervous Energies.
Genies.
Segehove.
Geocaches.
Green Words.
Trexer.
Whidbey Island Gal.
Railroad.
MC3 Cats.
LG 9000.
Mountain Bike.
Doramore.
Butterfly Girl.
The Camp Clan.
CRS 98.
B Pendragon.
And last, but certainly not least, Logwork.
Well, last this time. By chance. By
chance.
the randomnesses. Folks, thanks for taking the time to listen to this episode of Caching in the Northwest. Your support helps keep the quality shows coming. If you like the show, please click the Patreon link on the cachingandw.com website. If you didn't like the show, let us know what you want us to talk about. But if you like the vibe, please subscribe wherever you get your podcast and leave us a review. If you were in a restaurant, you would tip. If you were in a live audience, you would clap. But since you're on a podcast, leave us a free, fast, fabulous, fantastic 5-star review. And of course, you can call us at 253-693-TFTC and leave us a glow, a comment, or anything else you want to do any time of the day or night. And of course, you can email us at feedback@cachingandw.com. Join us every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Pacific for a live show and chat. This show is produced by Chris Umfenauer, Jim Paulitz, Jay Kennedy, and Brian Lang. It's licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license, copyright 2024 by Chris Umfenauer, and I ask you to stay tuned for
The After Show.
that thing.
Oh, that.
CRS 98 says, I do the out and back poo bag thing. It's a thing. It's a
Okay.
poo bag thing. I put the sack in an inconspicuous place and mark it with a waypoint.
Ooh. Oh, that's a good way to do it.
That's very well done. Yes. I like it.
Yeah. Brian was wondering if I said yawn. It did sound like yawn when I said it, didn't it?
Yawn.
Are we done yet? All right. Well, I think we've got probably got a fair bit of a task here.
We have some Fatasifies. Yeah.
Let's see what we got. We have oh, there we go.
Hey, I believe it's pronounced Habus. Habus? Habus? Habeas corpus?
Oh yeah, it's just going there. Yeah.
My husband is in a conference this week in Wisconsin, so I came along to go geocaching. I found several high favorite points and old caches in southeast Wisconsin and northern Illinois.
Including
Fantastic.
the one that was scattered around the woods.
Yeah. Nice.
There you go. I think using the geocaching app and doing high favorited caches going to give you a great tour of the area.
That's
Right?
what
It's
I
going
do.
to take you to points that people are interested in.
All right. Well, speaking of points, big points to CRS 98 in my book. Finally got a new Earth cache published near Deception Falls near Stevens Pass. This has been over a year in the making. It is GC Alpha Bravo Tango Quebec, and the FTF is syllable.
Oh, how about that?
There you go.
Or
Awesome. Way to go.
did he not do it? And it's near Truthful Falls.
Could be. What else do we got?
CRS 98. I'm sorry, no, Keats 94.
One of those
What's
numbers.
the difference?
Had a great time exploring Morocco with a tour group. Very few geocaches there, but managed to find a few. Morocco is a beautiful country, putting together some episodes in the near future.
Wonderful.
Cool
Looking forward
beans.
to that. Looking forward to seeing Keats again and hearing from him about his adventures. Saw some amazing photos on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
So good for him. That's a big
Morocco.
adventure. All right. And yeah, I said earlier I was going to talk a little bit about
Yes.
in the after show. I know we're
We're
running
there.
along here, so I won't be too verbose, but Bryling, our chat lackey came along. I saw Annette had made a comment about seeing us at the event, which was a lot of fun. It was there you go. Peach of everywhere.
Yeah.
It was great to see the land monkeys and the chat lackey from Caching the Northwest in Bend this past weekend. Many great caches were found and cachers, and a good time was had by all. Indeed,
Were cachers lost and then found?
Maybe.
yes, as they normally are.
That
But yeah, it
happens.
was great to see her and Skyhawker and a number of other folks. Love that Jeep. Love that Jeep they travel in. It is nicely kitted out. And as I walked past the Jeep, I did notice the phone on the dash had a caching on the back.
Oh, how about that?
And Chris, I sent a picture in
Mhm.
a chat that I think you saw. We went out and found a geocache, a little TV hotel that had a caching in it. So
Nice.
yes, it is always so fun as a podcast host when we go somewhere and see a sticker from the podcast on a cache, in a cache, on somebody's gear. It's so cool. It just really feels you feel the love, right? That's cool. It's like, wow, people appreciate us. That's cool.
I'll share a little bit about myself.
Sure.
I zoomed in really tight on that photo to see the edges of that sticker, to see, oh, that's brand new and you just put it up there and then took a picture of it, or has it been there a while? And I
The one on the
determined it had
cache?
been there a while.
Yeah, the one on the cache looked like it had been there for a little while. I don't know who had put it on there. I looked at, who's the cache owner? Will I recognize their name from the chat or from the patrons? And I didn't. So, so cool. That's awesome. I don't know who put it there, but that's fun.
But
Good
it's
on
fun.
ya.
Mhm.
But yeah, great trip to Bend. Never been there before. What a beautiful city. Just felt like quiet, clean, great place to visit. Highly recommend it. We kind of did the cache machine. We kind of just sort of picked and chose the
Mhm.
caches in the cache machine we wanted to do. But attended the events. It was great. Met a lot of fun friends. And yeah, as Bryling says, Bend has volcanoes you can drive up, which is pretty cool. Extinct volcanoes, but yeah,
volcanoes nonetheless.
a highly volcanically influenced landscape in Bend. That is for sure. Lava fields, lava tubes. Yeah, just a really interesting, unique place to go. Had a fantastic time. It's a heck of a drive from the Metro Vancouver area down there, I'll say, but we broke up the drive and just had a really fun time. So to the organizers of the Bend, I want to say Geo Tour, but
Cache
Cache
Machine.
Machine, kudos, an excellently done job. And I spoke with geocaches and
JT Coffee.
JT Coffee, and they're interested in the podcast to talk about their experience as well in the future. So
Fantastic.
we'll
Let's
get
have
some
them on.
feedback from them. And if folks haven't done a cache machine before, check it out. It's a fun thing.
They can
So
be fun for sure.
Now in the future, if somebody tells you to go get bent, you'll say, yes, I like it there.
Yeah, good breweries. Yeah,
One more thing.
Jess.
Where is it? A FATAS. This actually came from Bryling, I believe. A starfish is not a crustacean, but it's an invertebrate.
Then in the echinoderm.
Thank you.
Oh, echinoderm. That almost goes with our theme of echo
Yeah.
cache.
Yeah.
It's an
There's an H in there.
It's an ecoderm, meaning it's good. Its skin is good for the environment.
There's an in the echo. Term.
Too fun. All right. Well, whoever contributed that, thank you.
There you go. And that's what I was trying to think of. I go, no, they're not all crustaceans, but that's all that came to mind.
That thing. Yeah,
That thing that they do.
that's
Folks,
awesome. Well,
thank you
good
so
chat.
much for joining us. And until next week, get out, take care of the environment, and go caching in the Northwest.